আমি তো এখন এসে গেছি, কারণ যদি শুরু হয় যদি আমি আসতে পারলে ভালো হয়।
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and apologies for the delayed start. Minister is arriving in 5 minutes, so we'll just begin the program and he will join us. We all welcome you to the seminar on India's regulatory framework and the 12th five-year plan, jointly organized by ICRIER, KAS, and FICCI, West Bengal State Council. Today's seminar in Kolkata is the third in the series of seminars which ICRIER has been organizing during this year. Today's seminar will focus on regulatory issues, which is both a challenge and a priority of the government of India to achieve its targets under the 12th five-year plan. May I request Mr. Gaurav Sarup, Chairman, FICCI West Bengal State Council, to welcome Mr. Arun Maira, Member Planning Commission, Government of India, with a bouquet of flowers. Thank you, sir. May I request Dr. Rajat Kathuria, Director and Chief Executive ICRIER, to please make his welcome address and chair the session, please.
Thank you, Swati. The Honourable Minister in absentia, he'll be shortly arriving. Mr. Arun Maira, Member Planning Commission. Mr. Gaurav Swarup, Chairman FICCI. Ms. Marine Herring, the Deputy Program Representative from Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, KAS. Distinguished panelists. Thank you. Honourable Minister, Mr. Partha Chatterjee, Minister of Communication and Industry, Mr. Maira once again, Mr. Swarup and Ms. Marine Herring, distinguished guests, panelists, participants, a very good morning and a warm welcome to all of you. To, as Swati said, this is the third in the series of ICRIER-KAS-FICCI Seminar on the 12th plan, and the topic we've chosen today, appropriately for West Bengal and Kolkata, is India's regulatory framework in the 12th plan. I'm especially delighted to be here since Calcutta, as it was known then, was a city that I grew up in and studied, and I have very, very fond memories of Calcutta. So I'm especially delighted to be here, and I thank FICCI for organizing this seminar in collaboration with us. This is the third ICRIER-KAS seminar series this year, as we said, and it comes at a time when India's regulatory environment has suffered on several counts. Among the various problems or issues that it faces is a weak institutional architecture, a fragile implementation record, and not an absence, but a relative weakness in the consultation between the government and business. One of our panelists in the technical session is from the World Bank, and will be talking to us about the World Bank doing business indicators that are often a reflection of India's dismal regulatory framework. India ranks very low down in the doing business indicators of the World Bank across countries. Add to that is the heterogeneity across different states and multiple layers of administration that complicate matters even more. Regulations in India have yet not been driven by evidence-based research, and I think one of the objectives of ICRIER, those of you who do not know about ICRIER, one of the objectives, aims of ICRIER is to provide policymakers, is to provide decision makers with the tools, with the evidence based on both secondary and primary research in order to strengthen the decisions that they take. So those of you who are unaware, there is a flyer about ICRIER in your folders, but ICRIER was set up in 1981 as a non-profit think tank to try and improve the quality of policy decisions based not on gut feelings, based not what is felt by people, but based on thorough and extensive research, both, as I said, on primary and secondary data. The regulatory regime in India, therefore, must be improved both in terms of design and implementation, and the only way to achieve that is to have evidence and to base more of those decisions on research. And I hope the discussions that we have today, both in the inaugural session and in the next technical session, will help us match a good future for the regulatory reforms in India. On behalf of ICRIER-KAS and our partner for the seminar series, FICCI, I welcome also all of you to this seminar. So you'll see that we have a very distinguished panel. We have Mr. Swaroop, who is also the Managing Director of Paharpur Cooling Towers, besides being the Chairman of the FICCI. He has held leadership positions in several other corporates. Mr. Swaroop completed his MBA from Harvard University. Thank you for being here. I'm also most delighted to welcome Mr. Arun Maira, as I said, member of the Planning Commission. Mr. Maira is responsible for shaping policies and programs related to industrialization, urbanization, and tourism. And you probably know that he's authored several books and writes regularly in Economic Times and other management business journals. I was just fortunate to have read an article that came out recently in the Hindu in the op-ed page called Pulling Manufacturers in the next technical session following the inaugural session. Mr. Roland Lom from the World Bank, Dr. Navroz Dubash from Center of Policy Research, New Delhi, and Dr. V. Unni from a local person from the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. I guess it's still called Indian IIM Calcutta, Kolkata, like the IIM Madras is IIM Madras, Chennai. Thank you all very much for being here. All our speakers come with extensive experience in this area, and I'm sure you will enjoy listening to them and hope that you will participate in the discussions that will follow. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. And once again, let me thank our collaborators, both the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, KAS, who we've enjoyed a very long-standing and productive relationship, and of course FICCI, who we do extensive work with, both in helping us with stakeholder consultations for our primary research. I will now hand over the proceedings to Marine from the KAS.
I request Dr. Katuria to please welcome with a bouquet of flowers. May I request Marine to make her address, please.
Thank you. Shri Pata Chatterjee, the Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industries, Industrial Reconstruction, Public Enterprises, Parliamentary Affairs and Information Technology, Government of West Bengal, Shri Arun Maira, the Honorable Member of Planning Commission, Mr. Gaurav Swaroop, Chairman of FICCI West Bengal State Council, and Dr. Rajat Katoria, Director and Chief Executive, ICRIER, friends, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the organizers, it is an honor and a privilege to extend a warm and hearty welcome to you all to discuss this very important issue of India's regulatory framework and the 12th years plan. Allow me to convey warm regards and profound regrets for his inability to be with this August gathering today, from Dr. Lars Peter Schmidt, the new resident representative to India, who has just taken over very recently and is in Germany at the moment, where he had to prolong his stay due to unforeseen reasons. The Konrad Adenauer Foundation, as most of you are aware, is a German foundation which has been active in India since 1968. During these more than 4 decades, we have also evolved as per the dictates of time. Sufficient to say that from classical rural development and Panchayati Raj programs, we have expanded to other dimensions of economic reforms, rule of law, governance, youth-related issues, environment, natural resources and climate, foreign and security policy, and such other issues of relevance here and abroad. The KAS-ICRIER cooperation started in 2007 with an international conference on India and China's role in international trade and finance. And it has never looked back, gaining special impetus from the time Dr. Katoria has taken over the stewardship of ICRIER. The genesis of the quarterly series started from the 12th monthly workshop series on concurrent topics in 2010, which has been converted since then into quarterly workshop series in the following years. And this workshop is the third, as we already heard, in the current manifestation of this quarterly series for 2013. Other joint endeavors include various topics on various works on topics like taking the Heiligendamm process forward, SAFTA, comparative analysis of the national financial policies and regulatory regimes, impact of the financial crisis on the financial markets of Germany, India, and Japan, enhancing bilateral trade, investment and collaboration in services, India and the European Union, besides the ongoing studies on fiscal prudence, the case of Germany versus India and lessons learned, and facilitating investments between India and European Union, the case of bilateral investments between India and Germany. We are also proud of the annual G20 conference being organized from 2009 onwards, and have come here after an excellent 5th event organized just 1 week ago in the series. As a co-host of ICRIER-KAS-FICCI, the Konrad Adenauer Foundation would like to take this opportunity to thank FICCI and ICRIER for their joint organization and the implementation of this high-quality conference, and the effort and the time they contributed to make this meeting a success. I would like also to extend our gratitude to Mr. Mehra and Mr. Chatterjee for sparing their valuable time to set the tone for this conference. Furthermore, and very importantly, I would like to thank the members of the teams of ICRIER and FICCI for the excellent arrangements and coordination, especially Dr. Ali Mehdi, who is the driving force behind this project. I am sure that the seminar will be a success, not only because of this distinguished dais, but of course also the August gathering assembled over here. I wish you an interesting and enlightening seminar. Thank you.
Mr. Gaurav Swarup to make his initial remarks. Mr. Partha Chatterjee, Honorable Minister, Commerce and Industry, PE, IR, IT and Parliamentary Affairs, Government of West Bengal. Mr. Arun Maira, Member Planning Commission, Government of India. Dr. Rajat Kathuria, Director, Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relations. Ms. Marine Herring, Deputy Program Coordinator, Konrad Adenauer Stiftung Foundation, India Office. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are indeed very happy that ICRIER and KAS Foundation chose FICCI West Bengal State Council to partner their 3rd seminar in Kolkata on the regulatory framework and the 12th five-year plan. This assumes critical importance
as our economy grapples with a downturn and economic stress. Friends, the 11th five-year plan had aimed at achieving faster and more inclusive growth, targeted at 9% per annum to generate the income and employment opportunities and resources required for financing social sector programs aimed at reducing poverty and enabling inclusiveness. The economy grew at an average annual rate of 7.9% and survived two global crises in the period. However, we must recognize that the 12th plan is during a time when the global economic environment is much less favorable than it was at the start of the 11th plan, and the current challenges called for renewed efforts on a multiple of fronts. The stated vision of the 12th plan document is India moving forward in a way that would ensure a broad-based improvement in living standards of all sections of the people through a growth process which is faster than in the past, more inclusive, and also more environmentally sustainable. This mantra of faster, sustainable, and more inclusive growth is indeed ideal and laudable, but the question is it possible? While India's economy had recorded impressive growth rates over the past decades, most of the growth came from the service sector, and the overall performance is still being dragged down by an underperforming manufacturing sector. In other fast-growing, low-income economies, rapid expansion of manufacturing has pulled unskilled workers from agriculture into gainful employment. However, this pattern has not really emerged in India. The share of manufacturing in GDP actually fell from 16.8% in 81-82 to 15.1% in 2012-13. Multiple layers of regulation in two major factor markets, labor and land, continue to discourage growth of manufacturing. At best, the regulatory climate in India can be described as being in transition. Currently, the economy is in a state of drift. Infrastructure projects languish, and industries suffer from policy paralysis. Environmental clearances, land issues, etc. are major roadblocks. Beside infrastructure bottlenecks, labor market reforms have not been undertaken. This is holding back the manufacturing sector in general and its labor-intensive subsectors in particular. The manufacturing sector employed 58 million people, about 12% of the workforce in 2008. Studies have estimated that every job created in manufacturing has a multiplier effect, creating 2 or 3 jobs in the service sector. In a country like India, where employment generation is one of the key policy issues, this makes the sector a critical sector to achieve inclusiveness and growth. The ever-expanding trade deficit and the current account deficit is the result of our having neglected our export sector. A positive BOP or balance of payments provided a false sense of comfort. We mistakenly took pride in being a domestic consumption-led economy despite being extremely vulnerable to a weak external sector. A weaker rupee will only fuel inflation, as most inputs such as oil are either imported or are priced on an import parity basis, even if adequate manufacturing capacity exists within the country. We need to build export competitiveness as part of a national strategy which will require removal of infrastructural, policy and regulatory roadblocks. With these words, I hope the deliberation today will bring forth different areas of reform by the various distinguished speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swarup, for laying out so accurately the challenges that confront India as we seek to increase our growth. May I now request Mr. Arun Maira, Member Planning Commission, Government of India, to give the keynote address.
The Honourable Minister Partha Chatterjee, others on the dais, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm really pleased to be here with you today to get us very engaged with this very important subject of the seminar, the Industrial Regulatory Framework and the 12th Five-Year Plan. I want to begin with subject that's been mentioned by more than one person, at least two, who's spoken already from the dais, is the need for India to grow its manufacturing base, to grow manufacturing, and the need, therefore, to have a strategy to grow its manufacturing base and strategy. Indeed, we have an industrial policy, a new industrial policy, a manufacturing policy created just 2 years ago, which has been converted into a plan, the substance of which is in the 12th five-year plan. What I'm beginning to realize in the last year since this plan to convert the policy into results has been rolled out is that most people in the country, many people in the country, including, I'm surprised, cabinet ministers at the center, don't know what is this policy and the plan. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to just summarize very quickly the 5 strategies that are underpinning the plan to convert the policy into results. The first strategy is, I think what the subject of the seminar is to very rapidly tune up and improve